Hi children, today we are going to look at the first poem of your book Hornbill for class 11 English, a photograph. So a photograph is the first poem and it is a very easy poem and it is very simple, but you should understand the hidden things and hidden meaning between the lines, because those are the real factors which will change your answer and will fetch you good marks. So this poem is written by Shirley Tolson, and she has expressed her feelings towards her mother in this poem. So basically it is a mother and daughter relationship orated poem. So in this poem you should focus on the area where the relationship factor is being explained, because those are the areas where you will really get confused, and the correlation is the factor which you should keep in mind while you're reading and while you're framing your answers for your questions. So we'll move on to the next thing. So see children, the photograph is a poem, like I said, is having most of the factors is correlation. So here the three major areas where you should keep in mind, or you can put it in other words, it's very simple, that is the three factors, that is mother, daughter and the photograph. So see, it's the first thing is the mother, second is the daughter, and third is the photograph. Imagine these three are the three corners of the of a triangle. So we'll keep this as the mother. Excuse me if the letters are not properly written, because I'm not very good at it. So we'll keep this as the mother and this to be the daughter and this to be the photograph. So the correlation between the mother and the daughter, the mother and the daughter, mother and the photograph, the same way daughter and the photograph. These are three interlinked objects. So these three are always related with each other in the entire poem. So this should be kept in mind, where you should understand all the things. So here when you're talking about the mother, you should think about both the daughter and the photograph. So these three things are always interlinked. So the poem itself is talking about only these three factors. How it is interlinked will be shown in the next slide. That is, when you're talking about the mother, imagine you're talking about the mother in one kind of question, or you're talking about her feelings. So then you have to interlink between the daughter and the photograph, because the same thing implies for the daughter also. Like when you're talking about the daughter, think about the mother and the photograph. When you're talking about the photograph, then think about the mother and the daughter. So it's not complicated children, don't get confused, it's very easy, because it's very simple. The three things are interrelated and correlated. So when you're talking about one thing, don't leave the other two. So don't think that if you're talking about like mother, then you can talk about only her, not leaving out the photograph and the daughter. If these three things are interlinked, whenever you write the answer, think about all these things and find out a solution to link all these three and then write the answer. So those things should be kept in mind. So before we go into the poem, it is very important for us to understand the central theme, or the major factors which you should keep in mind while you're reading the poem. That is about the poem. So about this poem, so there are 5 factors which should be kept in mind for us to understand the poem. The first thing is nostalgia. I hope everybody knows the meaning of the word nostalgia. So basically it's a sentimental longing for a particular time. You long for a particular time in your past, or when you're doing something in the present, that activity evokes the memory of the past feeling or emotion. So if you don't understand this, basically in simple terms, it is like you're sad thinking about the past. You're just sad, okay, you're just sad thinking about something in your past and you're longing that you can get that back, which is not possible. So that is the feeling of nostalgia. So here the next factor is the correlation between objects and emotions. So like I said, object is the photograph and emotions is being shown by both the mother and the daughter. So what kind of a relationship between the mother and daughter is there with the photograph is the correlation. So that should be kept in mind. Then the third thing is effect of time. So the time between the photograph and the mother and the daughter is very important, because that's where most of you will get confused. So the photograph has a particular time with the mother. The same photograph has a particular time. I'm sorry children, wait a minute. It doesn't look like a T. Okay. So I hope now I'll do. Yeah. So the photograph has the same link between the daughter also. Maybe it is the same photograph, but the relationship between the photograph and the mother and the relationship between the photograph and the daughter are with one difference, that is the time. So this time plays a very important role for you to understand the relationship between the mother and the photograph and the daughter and the photograph. So that is the effect of time in this poem, children. Next one is the mother and daughter relationship. Obviously we are talking about the mother and daughter, so that is the main factor which you should keep in mind. Last but not least, the speaker of the poem. Why this is important is because the poet Shirley Tolson herself has expressed her own feelings and emotion towards her mother. So when you're writing the answers, this is not an indirect kind of emotion which someone else is experiencing and you're trying to express that. It is your own emotion which is expressed in the poem. So the poet expresses her own feelings and emotions which she is trying to express in the form of lines which we are reading. So the answers, for when you're framing the answers, you can use her words and that is her name to present your answers in a more effective manner. So that is very important while you're framing your answers. Don't think that this is just 11th standard, because for your next year boards we have to practice the way of writing your answers and way of presenting your answers from now itself. So that is the thing which you should keep in mind. So I hope you understood the meaning and the entire concept of the poem. We'll just go back and we'll just think about it, how we went through all these things. Just wait a minute. So the poem Photograph is written by Shirley Tolson, and it has three important factors. It is a mother, the daughter and the photograph. So those three things are very important, and whenever you are thinking about writing an answer, you should think about correlating the other two factors with the one important factor. So it's very simple. Whenever you're talking about the mother or a daughter or the photograph, always relate the other two things with it. So these are the important factors which you should remember. So when you are thinking about one, don't leave the other two. So these two things, these things you should remember. Then we are going to move on to the important thing, that is the what is about the poem nostalgia, the correlation between objects and emotions, the effect of time, then the mother and daughter relationship, then the last one is the speaker of the poem. So whenever, like I said, the first one, when you're thinking about nostalgia, think about the mothers and the daughters and the photograph. Same thing applies here, same here. So whenever you are thinking about one thing, don't leave the other two. So these are the important things which you should keep in mind before we start to learn about this poem. So I hope you understood. We'll move on to the poem. That is the poem has 3 paragraphs. We'll move on to the poem in the next part of the video. This will be your first part, and the second one will be continuing with the poem line by line. We'll be starting with the explanations. So after this, please go on to the second part. Thank you, children.